So, let me spill this tea. Just when you think Meghan Markle's saga couldn't possibly get any messier, boom, another bombshell drops. And this one, it's not from some random troll on the internet. Oh no, it's from none other than Ghislaine Maxwell herself. Yes, that Ghislaine. The woman at the dead center of Jeffrey Epstein's disgusting empire. The one supposedly rotting away in prison. Quiet, hidden, forgotten. Or so we thought. Because suddenly, she's speaking. And guess whose name she's dragging into the storm? Meghan Markle. I know, right? You probably gasped. Meghan, the Hollywood actress turned duchess, the lifestyle queen with jars of jam and scented candles, is suddenly tied to whispers straight from the depths of the Epstein network. And Maxwell didn't just toss shade, she pointed her perfectly polished finger at Meghan with some very disturbing claims. Word on the inside is that Ghislaine hinted at a so-called CV, but don't think job applications and movie resumes. No, darling, this isn't about her acting credits on Suits. This CV supposedly tells a story about Meghan's pre-royal days that's a whole lot darker. Less Hollywood actress, more adult-themed escapades. Maxwell didn't mince words either. She allegedly used the phrase playing the adult game. Now tell me, what does that even mean? It's one of those phrases that's vague enough to deny, but scandalous enough to make everyone's eyebrows shoot straight up. And the gossip machine? Oh, it's eating this alive, because this isn't just TMZ chatter. This supposedly came from a leaked prison statement from Maxwell. That alone is enough to break the internet. Of course, Meghan's defenders were quick to clap back. They screamed slander, distraction, smear campaign, basically every PR defense in the book. And honestly, at first glance, it does sound extreme. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't coming from some bitter ex-friend selling a story for a paycheck. This is Ghislaine Maxwell, someone who was right there, deeply embedded in Epstein's disgusting circle. If she's naming names now, people are going to pay attention, even if they do it through gritted teeth. And just when it felt like this could spiral out of control, the court got involved. A U.S. judge swooped in and said, nope, not releasing Epstein's grand jury transcripts. The official excuse? To protect the safety and privacy of the victims. Which sounds noble, right? Except if there's nothing in those files, as the judge implied, then why lock them up tighter than Fort Knox? That's what makes people suspicious. You claim there's nothing, then slam the door shut like it's the nation's darkest secret. Of course, the public's going to dig harder. And here's the kicker. Before the judge's decision, one article already warned Prince Andrew to brace himself. Why? Because those files could have exposed even more about his ties to Epstein. And Meghan, she might have been caught up in the periphery. Let's not forget, Virginia Giuffre's lawyer openly claimed that Meghan knew Virginia. They weren't strangers. That's why the lawyer wanted Meghan deposed in the first place. Not for tabloid fodder, but because Meghan may have actually known what was happening in those twisted circles. See, this is where it gets dark. Meghan wasn't some random passerby. According to court filings, she was right there with a front row seat. And if we believe those documents, she saw far more than she's ever dared to admit. The lawyer believed Meghan had valuable knowledge that could confirm critical details about the royals' involvement. That's huge. He literally said Meghan had information locked in her ego-driven noggin. His words, not mine. So let's imagine this. If Maxwell's alleged CV is real and Meghan truly was floating around those elite high society gatherings, before Suits, before Harry, this could get ugly. Scratch that. It's already ugly. Because if Meghan's past really ties her to anything even remotely resembling adult entertainment, role-play parties, or Epstein's network, then her whole brand collapses. Think about it. The Duchess turned podcast host, the jam-selling, wellness-preaching empowerment queen Meghan, suddenly exposed for playing the adult game back in the day? That image doesn't just crack, it shatters. But here's the twist of irony. Meghan might not even need Ghislaine's help to ruin her brand. She's been doing a fine job herself over the last few years, from her messy family fallouts to the drama-filled Netflix series, the fake curtsies, the backtracking on her book involvement. Her credibility is already fragile. So when a story like this drops, whether true or not, it sticks, because the foundation beneath her has already been crumbling. That's why this little phrase Maxwell used, playing the adult game, is so dangerous. It's vague enough to spark imagination, but heavy enough to scorch reputations. Some people immediately thought escort culture. Others went straight to Hollywood's darkest rabbit holes. Whatever the actual truth, Ghislaine knew exactly what she was doing. She lit a match and tossed it on a puddle of gasoline. And now, the fire is spreading. Meanwhile, Meghan, she's busy rebranding again. First, it was American Riviera Orchard. Then, poof, it morphed into, as ever, her shiny new lifestyle label. Picture jars of overpriced jam, luxury candles with artisan labels, pastel branding. It's all the classic PR distraction playbook. But let's be real, how do you push a brand about wholesomeness and empowerment while whispers connect your name to Epstein's crowd and adult role-play scenarios? You don't. You just drown it in pretty packaging and hope no one looks too closely. Except people are looking. And it's not just gossip channels stirring the pot. Virginia Giuffre's legal team, actual lawyers, made it crystal clear. Meghan wasn't some background extra. She knew Virginia. She had first-hand knowledge of those circles. That's why her name kept surfacing in legal discussions. They even considered putting her on the stand, not for publicity, but because she might have the power to confirm what Virginia went through. And let's be honest, when a name like Meghan Markle shows up in court documents, it's not because of her Netflix deals. It's because proximity matters. If she was in those rooms, near Prince Andrew, near Virginia, near that world, then staying silent becomes its own kind of choice. And silence in this case speaks louder than anything. Now here's where things take a sharp twist. According to Virginia Giuffre's attorney, Meghan wasn't expected to be just a passive witness. No, they thought she could actually confirm details about the royals, details that mattered in court. Imagine that. Meghan, the Duchess, being dragged into Epstein's dirty history not as a victim, not as an outsider, but as someone with key knowledge locked in her head. The attorney even sounded confident, too confident if you ask me. He believed Meghan could tell the truth. But come on, let's be real. Has Meghan always been honest? Remember when she swore she had nothing to do with that book, Finding Freedom? And then boom, court documents showed she'd fed information to the authors behind the scenes. That whole "I had no involvement" story? Exposed. And once someone's caught lying under oath, people don't forget. So, if Meghan bent the truth once, what's stopping her from doing it again? Especially when the stakes are higher? And even if she never steps into that courtroom, the fact that lawyers even considered calling her, that's enough to shake the palace walls. Because think about it. Harry left the royal family, burned bridges, cut ties, all to protect Meghan. And now, he's standing beside a woman whose name is floating dangerously close to Epstein's network. That's not just messy, it's explosive. And let's not overlook the wording. According to the attorney, Meghan wasn't just brushing shoulders with Prince Andrew. She was described as a close companion. Close companion? That's not casual. That's not, "Oh, I met him once at a party." That implies familiarity, access, maybe even involvement. It means she was around, listening, seeing things she'd probably rather never come to light. And then comes the biggest bomb of all, the so-called CV. The document Ghislaine Maxwell claims exists. Not a Hollywood resume, but something far more compromising. Something that allegedly details Meghan's activities before she became royalty. A document that, if it ever leaks, could unravel everything she's built. Now Meghan's fans will scream, "Fake, fabrication," and maybe it is. But let's not ignore who's making these claims. It's not fringe bloggers, it's lawyers handling major cases, it's insiders with convictions and receipts. People who know how the legal and media games are played, that's what makes it so dangerous. Here's the dilemma Meghan faces now. If she stays silent, people assume guilt. If she denies it, critics call it spin. If she sues, then that CV, if it really exists, could get dragged into discovery. And trust me, that would be brutal. Either way, she's trapped. Every move she makes is being watched, not just by tabloids and gossipers, but by lawyers, journalists, and maybe even royals who'd rather these doors stay tightly locked. Now think about her public image. For years, Meghan has been carefully packaged as the brave woman who stood up against a toxic monarchy, who fought back against media cruelty, who built a brand on honesty and authenticity. But if even a sliver of these allegations hold true, that entire image crumbles. And let's be honest, rebuilding from that? Impossible. Because here's the truth. People can forgive mistakes, even dark ones, if you own them. But people hate being lied to. If Meghan really had some shadowy past and had been upfront about it, maybe the public would have shrugged and moved on. But this alleged CV? It doesn't tell the story of youthful mistakes. It tells the story of secrets, selective memory, and a manufactured image polished to perfection. You can't build an empire on authenticity if you're hiding skeletons in your designer closet. And the most dangerous part? Exposure. If that CV ever leaks, through a whistleblower, a court filing, or even a single screenshot, it's game over. Because at that point, perception becomes reality. The media will sink its teeth into it, and no amount of rebranding, pastel packaging, or luxury candles will undo the damage. And poor Harry, can you imagine? He walked away from his royal life, sacrificed relationships with his family, all in the name of protecting Meghan. What happens when he sees her name tied to Epstein in legal documents? When he reads that lawyers believe she holds key information about Andrew's behavior? If any of this is true, it's not just betrayal, it's devastation. But what really makes this different is the confidence in Virginia Giuffre's legal team. They weren't hedging, they weren't guessing, they were certain Meghan had valuable testimony. That certainty doesn't come from gossip blogs, it comes from evidence, from interviews, from reports, from something tangible. And that's what makes Meghan's silence so chilling. Silent.